Hello and welcome everybody to another one of Protect Academy's LinkedIn Live sessions. So we have a really special guest today, but before we proceed with the live event, let's wait for a few moments and let more people join in, and then we will continue. Till then, you can get something to snack on. If you're driving, put on your earphones and drive safe, please. And we'll be commencing in another 30 seconds. So, welcome everybody, and welcome back to everybody who has been with us through all of these LinkedIn Live events. And thank you so much for joining us again today. And welcome to everybody who's going to be watching the recorded format of this session. We are oh so grateful to have you with us every single time. So, thanks so much. And as I mentioned, that we have a very special guest with us today. So, we at Protect would like to once again welcome Mr. Vivek Shah. He is a very, very skilled industry leader in governance, risk management, and compliance. He has nearly a decade worth of experience in the GRC domain, and he has trained over hundreds of professionals in the same. Mr. Vivek Shah is also highly skilled at multiple GRC frameworks as well as functional and technical tools. He is also a certified expert in RSA Archer. We are honored to announce that after the big success of our pilot batch, Mr. Vivek Shah is coming out with another live program with us for functional GRC training. It's going to be a completely hands on practical experience for anybody who joins us. And this course starts at the 3rd of August. And you absolutely wouldn't want to miss out on this one. In case you missed out on the previous batch, here's your chance to join Mr. Vivek Shah and, skill up with him. And for any inquiries that you have regarding the upcoming course, please feel free to reach out to Protect Academy. We would be happy to help you get started, help you set up with the training. So, without further ado, Mr. Vivek, please take on.
Thank you, Ghazal, for that introduction. We will directly go ahead and we will start with the agenda for today. And then we will be discussing couple of important agenda based on GRC, some of the core principles of GRC, some of the important pillars we have as a part of GRC, as well as we'll be exploring some of the use cases, definitely, which is used across the industry, and we would be talking about few career opportunities as well. So beginning with importance of GRC.
Hi,
Now,
Vivek.
as we all
I'm so
understand,
sorry. Hi, Vivek. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Can you please put your screen on full screen, the slides on full screen, and remove the hide option? Like, click on the hide option. Yes, awesome.
okay,
Thank you so
does this
much.
sound
Really
good?
sorry to disturb. Yeah, perfect. Please go on.
All right, thank you. So, firstly, guys, let's understand, what is importance of GRC. Now, I assume probably all of you understand what is governance, risk management, what is compliance. You probably understand the basic definition of GRC is basically on the governance side. You discuss and talk about all the processes, all the rules, all the frameworks, all the regulations that you have, right? That is on the governance side. And then similarly, we go ahead and we try to determine risk out of any unexpected event or an outcome which we anticipate to happen, which has not happened literally, but we anticipate to happen that. So all such unexpected and unwanted output that we tend to have would certainly be a part of risk management, and then we think of how to remediate it, how to resolve it, as well as we will try to probably mitigate that risk or transfer that risk. And then likewise, compliance would be more on ensuring that we are following the right rules, right policies, right frameworks, what all we have defined in the governance part. We ensure that we are following that and being compliant with all such rules, policies, processes, etc. Right now, having said that, let's understand few of the importance of GRC. Okay, like what exactly GRC means, we have understood it, but what is the importance of GRC? So definitely, if we look at data driven decision making, now data driven decision making definitely is a big boost for any organization, right? That has chunks of data, be it related to their engagements, be it related to risk, be it related to business continuity plans, be it related to third party vendors, right? It's very important for any organization to have a proper management of the data. Now, definitely, when we use some of the GRC tools and softwares, it gives us way more flexibility in terms of applying appropriate filters or creating proper reports, and it gives us the exact data what we are looking for as per our conditions. All right. So definitely, by having proper GRC systems in place and having proper GRC processes in place, we are able to make more informed decision, because we are able to filter the data, we are able to manipulate the data, we are able to apply some conditions on the data, and then exactly based on our parameters, we expect the output to be present to us. Likewise, if we look at some of the operations activity, now think of a situation that we don't have processes defined, we don't have policies defined, we don't know what regulations, what rules do we follow, right? We do not have any idea, versus we have a right set of policies, right set of processes, right set of rules defined. How streamlined it would be and how easier for the organization would be to streamline and work with the goals, objectives, and missions, basically to align with the goals, objectives, and missions of the organization. Because I do have a clear set of processes defined, right? So whenever you have like a proper GRC maturity model, or we have a proper GRC in your organization as an established set of rules, it definitely makes your operations much easier, right? And at the same time, people will be able to understand the flow, people will be able to understand that what basic activities they have to go through, what are some of the common processes they have to follow, and that will definitely be very efficient in order for the organization to get a output and see how difference it is creating when you have a proper process versus you don't have a proper process, right? Followed by compliance. Now we all know how important compliance has become these days, to abide by the laws, abide by the regulations, right? And we even are very pretty much aware with the penalties that is going to be imposed if proper compliance is not maintained. Right now, in such situation and such cases, when I have proper compliance management setup, which is definitely a part of GRC, I will exactly be able to determine that the level of compliance or the percentage of compliance accomplished with or in regards to a regulation is, let's say, 90% or 70% or 50%. And then also I'll be able to provide appropriate comments. I'll be able to justify that why only compliance of 50% has been achieved, right? So this is all possible when I have an end-to-end GRC framework, when I have an end-to-end GRC processes defined. So I exactly know that according to my business operations, according to the geography I locate in, according to the industry where I'm dealing businesses with, which exactly are, you know, the penalties, the regulation, the standards which will be applicable to me, and to which all aspect I have to be compliant with. All right. So that's going to be pretty much helpful to me to understand from a regulatory compliance as well. And that will be, one of the importance of having a good GRC for the organization would, be present for. Followed by better alignment. Now, think of a situation that I know all of my roles and responsibility as well. All the peers working with me also know their roles and responsibilities, right? They have a proper set of rules and regulations defined. They know what exactly they are supposed to do within the organization. So, how equivalent and how important that would be for me to have the right set of objectives, be achieved for the organization, right? I would exactly know the right set of stakeholders which needs to be present with different processes, with different use cases, right? I would exactly know which controls I need to establish, I need to put across, because I have a proper idea, I have a proper alignment as to what exactly the organization is looking for, right? So definitely when I have all these processes and I have all the policies defined, I have the vision, I have the mission, I have the goals rightly defined, it would be way easier for me to align different resources, right? Not only people, but definitely different resources, to be synchronized with this. So definitely better alignment would be one of the option that will be helpful, right? Then definitely again it would be on the improved decision making, right? Now definitely improved decision making would be one of the most important approach, because now I have the data, I have the reports, I have the statistics, right? When I see a particular report, let's say I take a simple example, I want to know all the risk which are not yet completed, or risk which has been accepted, right? Or risk which has been rejected. So out of about 1000 risk across the entire GRC platform, if I filter out and if I figure out that yes, there are about 100 risks which are still unresolved, right? A due date has passed, they are critical, but they are still unresolved, right? Now based on that, based on this particular information, I will be able to collectively make decision, because I'm able to filter my data. Similarly, I can do it for incidents, I can do it for issues, I can, separate all extremely critical issues within the organization. And then I will try to see the pattern as to what is the reason that these issues have not been resolved. What is the pain point? What is the drawback? Right? So when I have such data synchronized correctly, it helps me to make more matured and informed decision, right? So this is all the importance of GRC. That is, the organizations would be visualizing this. Similarly, if I look at operational efficiency, okay, now definitely when you have improved process, when you have the right set of people with right duties, right stakeholders defined, right? When I have the right set of policies for the organization, I know the right set of regulations that I have to follow. It is very much possible that I'll be able to avoid duplication, because once things are very clear to you, you have a straightforward path with you, right? Which will help you to reduce all the unnecessary activities that you are doing. You will exactly know which stakeholder is responsible for carrying out which all activities, right? So if any other activity which you see that does not belong to, let's say, a risk manager or to an issue owner or a creator, right, he will be directly able to redirect that particular request, which is basically coming from any unknown source and is requesting for some information which does not belong to an risk owner or to an issue owner, right? He will be able to redirect this to the respective stakeholder, because roles and responsibilities are clear, right? So that will definitely save manpower effort. It will give me better return. It will definitely make my processes more strong. It will avoid duplication, and it will be definitely a good advantage for the organization to improvise and have a good level of efficient GRC model for the same, right? So these are all, some of the advantages, I would say, which we have tried to present it, that these are some of the advantages what GRC has. Now let's look at some of the principles of GRC, right? Some of the core principles that one has to follow for having a good GRC maturity model. So, if we see cross functional collaboration, right? Now, very simple example, when a group of people work as risk manager and a group of people work as control owners or as control specialists, right? Now, definitely we know how correlated risk and controls are, right? Now, on any control, right, we would be having a risk tag because that control will help to mitigate that risk, right? So we see a close correlation of controls and risk. Likewise, I can give you another example of issues versus policies, or we determine some kind of non-conformity, or we determine some kind of bug or enhancement or improvement that we foresee to have in a policy. So I would see a correlation of policy owners interacting with the issue management stakeholders, right? So GRC is all about having a positive cross-functional collaboration, which will promote, the processes. It will promote the work in a way that organization do not have to work completely in silos. When I have such kind of collaborations, I'm able to achieve my activity in a better way and with spending less amount of time and energy. So cross functional collaboration is one of the core principles of GRC, and it definitely promotes it. Then comes accountability. Now, if you have heard about RACI matrix, now RACI matrix is a very important tabular format to showcase what all roles, responsibilities, duties, authorities of the core stakeholders of GRC would be. So let's say if we talk about an information security officer, if we talk about a risk owner, if we talk about a process owner, if we talk about a third party engagement manager, if I talk about compliance officer, right? If I have their roles and responsibilities clearly defined, I have, their authorities defined, that what a compliance officer is authorized to do within an organization, right? And at all levels, right? I'm not just talking about top level management or a mid level management, but at all the levels. How easy it would be for anyone to identify and say that yes, if such an activity happens, kindly contact so and so person in the organization, right? So having the right set of roles, responsibilities and authorities defined for GRC stakeholders again makes my GRC model much more matured and easy to follow, maintain and implement. Plus, I do feel that there is a transparency. Right now in GRC, the biggest advantage, what happens is transparency, because you have evidences, you have proofs, you have documentation. Now, these are some of the core features of GRC, that what all activities a person has done, right? Their logs are captured, their histories are captured. So let's say if I'm working as an issue creator on an issue, right? My history will be captured, that as an issue creator, what all initial information I entered on an issue, then what all information I'm expected to enter on an issue, what all information an issue owner is supposed to enter on an issue. So the expectation, the data that I'm entering as an issue owner, as an issue creator, and again as different stakeholders, right? They can all be captured with the necessary, systems, with necessary processes within GRC. So it gives you very transparent and visible evidences and information, and it is crystal clear, visible to you, that what all roles and responsibilities a person has, what all activities he has done, what all activities he has bypassed, what all activities he was supposed to do and has not done it, etc. Right? So without getting into too much of management, with proper processes and with proper systems, you are able to have like a proper transparency and visibility for your GRC processes, if you follow it appropriately. Then comes the risk management. Again, GRC has a very, very important stake with integrated risk management, right? And if you see the abbreviation, the R of GRC stands for risk management. Now, if I look at GRC, like why people focus on GRC or why do we need GRC? At the end of the day, in short and sweet, it's all for mitigating the risk. My only purpose is to have good risk mitigation, make my organization more secured, more protected, be cyber protected with least breaches, with least failures, etc. So, identifying a risk, analyzing a risk, evaluating a risk, and addressing and implementing measures so that such similar kinds of risk do not happen in the organization again. And what all risk we have identified, we are able to resolve that and protect the organization from any kind of governance failure, from any kind of breaches, from any kind of penalties, from any kind of legal complications, right? That is the primary focus of risk management, right? So, risk could come from technical aspect, risk could come from process aspect, risk could come from any functional process, risk could come from stakeholders, risk could come from missions, visions, it could come from a project, right? Risk can be everywhere. It could be a strategical risk, it could be a technological risk, it could be an operational risk, right? There could be multiple risks which I foresee within an organization. So the basic principle of GRC is to identify those risks, evaluate, analyze, and try to mitigate that risk as much as possible. And this is exactly what we'll be talking in our course as well, but in very much details, right? So what all you are seeing here of issues, controls, risk, right? We have our core use cases defined as to how in an industry exactly risk management, control assurance, compliance management, they all work with real hands-on experience, right? Followed by agility and continuous improvement. Right now, we are in an era where changes are a part of our work, right? We should be so open to changes, so open to technological shifts, so open to adapting new frameworks, right? That if you have that mindset, your role within the organization as well as organization to adapt to all these changes will be in a much much better and good position. So let's say if I have new departments or new divisions which will work on some of the additional businesses what I'm doing currently, right? My business operations currently, let's say, are in a IT related work, right? I'm taking IT services, I'm taking IT contracts, I'm taking IT projects, right? Now I decide to develop IT softwares as well and then outsource those softwares to uh, overseas or outside of your geography, or to have it specifically designed for government entities or private firms or so, right? So I can definitely say that I'm adding some more business opportunities to my existing organization, to my existing business operations. Okay. And then based on this, I'll try to evaluate the risk as well. That fine, with new addition of businesses, with new opportunities coming in, there would be some risk associated as well. It could be positive, it could be negative, I don't know. But I have to do that analysis. And I should be ready to accept that change. That fine, if I'm introducing something new, I'm open to change. I cannot be in a position that no, we are only into consulting and services. We don't want to get into software development, right? The mission and vision of an organization would be to improve themselves, to get to a milestone, and that could be the reason they have introduced this new. Or owing to the market demand, demand from the customers, demand from the clients would have made them thought thoughtful to develop softwares as well. So as an example, what we are trying to say is that have like a flexible mindset, have like an adaptation mindset, and try to address any kind of risk, any kind of new compliances that you have to bear with, and move ahead with this. This is what GRC would always focus on. And then continuous improvement. Now, continuous improvement is by default a part of GRC, and this begins right from stage one. GRC always promotes improvement, monitoring, review, feedbacks, communication, right? These are all some of the core principles of GRC, because GRC cannot be implemented just within a day. It's a process which comes with people, it comes with resources, it comes with top level management, it comes with bottom level management, and it's a holistic journey that any organization will have to go through, from employees, from resources, from skill set, from knowledges, right? From external consulting, from internal consulting. So the whole journey of making your GRC more matured from, let's say, level 1 or level 2 to level 5, right? That's where continuous improvement will always come into picture, with feedbacks, with suggestions, with new changes, right? With trying different aspects, etc. Right? So continuous improvement is a part of GRC always, right? We cannot separate continuous improvement as a separate thing, or as just as a feedback thing or so, right? It's one of the core principles of GRC, guys. All right, now let's talk about pillars of GRC. Okay, let's assume some of the core pillars of GRC, and let's see what the core pillars of GRC has to offer us. So some of the core pillars of GRC, or what does GRC say, is that how do you start with, or how do you begin with, right? How do you begin with governance? How do you begin with risk management? How do you begin with compliance, right? What are some of the building blocks that you have to, establish beforehand, so that you do get an understanding, you do get an idea where to start from, what is the, outline that you have to prepare, what are some of the next steps that you have to take for a better implementation of GRC or so. So the very first part is clearly defining the goals, right? Firstly, I would still work on context of the organization. Understand the context of the organization as to what my organization is doing, what is the expectation of the organization, what is the dependency of organization into within its stakeholders, within its contractors, its suppliers, what level of business they are conducting, what is their business operations, right? I'll try to get into all such information prior, right? I'll try to get into all such information prior and try to gather the context of the whole organization. Then I'll try to see what their goals are, that 5 years from now, 3 years from now, 10 years from now, what is an exact goal they are trying to achieve? Are they trying to achieve goals in terms of higher revenues? Are they trying to achieve goals in terms of better products? Are they trying to achieve goals based on some regions, or they want to get into some region or so? Is that what their goals are? So having a clear definition of goals will help me to design my GRC model, right? So depending on the goals where I want to reach, right, I'll try to put forth and I'll try to suggest that what exactly are the steps in terms of better risk management, better compliance, better policies you have to come up with, because this is a long term process, right? Having a goal of, let's say, being the biggest manufacturer in fashion goods, right, is not an activity that you can accomplish within day. You have to abide by process, you have to abide by rules, you have to abide by the vision, mission of the goals. You have to think on different strategies, right? And that can only be conveyed if your goals are clearly defined. So once my goals are very clearly defined, once I have an understanding about my goals, what I will try to do is I'll try to come up with the policies. I'll try to come up with policies, that let's start creating different policies for our business, for our products, for our customers, for our internal teams, for our stakeholders, for our external laws, right? Let's try to come up with all such clear goals and all such clear definitions, right? Then we try to access the existing process, because if you look at GRC, right, it's not that it's not existing in any company. GRC is existing everywhere, right? It's just that it's not streamlined and it's not matured. So what I do is I try to do an assessment. I try to assess the skill set of the employees, the knowledge of the employees, their experiences with technologies, with tools, with processes. I try to gather their feedback. I try to communicate with them that this is the change that we are anticipating for the organization. What are your suggestions? What are your feedbacks? Because GRC never says that only focus and only decide based on what top level management wants. Understand the real fact that organizations would work and would be very much dependent on the people working at the ground level as well. Definitely, the decision maker is a top level management. But in reality, the groundwork is done by the people who are working at the bottom level, right? So, we try to access our existing procedures. We try to see that what level of skill set the organization has, what level of technical capabilities organization has, what capability in terms of functional skill set an organization has. Where do we feel the level of improvement? Where should we improve upon? Where should we, think on that these are the areas I can still improve upon, or I'm not able to leverage my fullest capacity in these areas, but I wish to have it, right? So we try to analyze and we try to access and try to come up with all such procedures, right? We try to frame up all these and we try to think and we try to come up with a plan, right? That these are your drawbacks, these are your plus point, these are the areas of improvement, this is where I want to improve, right? So you basically come up with a proper plan. Okay. Once you come up with a proper plan, right, you now think on the implementation. You have got the plan, you have got an understanding, you have got the plan. Now comes the implementation part. So the implementation part is the most important for any GRC program, right? For any GRC program, implementation becomes the most important part. So as I said, it will begin with top level management, right? Now, having a good level of GRC or having a matured level of GRC in the organization, right? It is up to the top level management to decide upon. We cannot just decide that, yes, I want to have a GRC, let's do it. It's a combined decision of several top management associates who will design a roadmap, who will design a plan, and then work on the implementation, right? So how to implement the policies, how to implement the tools, how to implement the processes, right? How to make people skilled, how to communicate the same changes with them, how to make them aware and make them understand importance of GRC, etc., will all be decided very thoroughly by the senior executives or top level management, right? So top level management will decide everything, will design everything, and then they will work on the implementation plan. And again, for the implementation plan, it's not just an activity of a day. You need to involve several consultants, right? You need to involve internal consultants, you need to involve external consultants, you need to involve people with specific skill set. That's when the implementation happens for of GRC for any organization, right? Another focus that we need to keep is on the risk management, as discussed initially as well. Now, every organization will have a different criteria for evaluating a risk, right, or for analyzing a risk, right? If I am a IT organization, right, I would have the maximum risk coming from technology side. If I am a financial institute, to me, financial risk would matter the most. If I am a consulting in a strategical organization who provides consulting, who provide guidances, right? To me, strategic risk would be of most important. So, with all these different types of risk, your scoring criteria, your pattern of evaluating a risk, your criteria for rating a risk, your plan for mitigating a risk, your plan for reducing the risk is going to differ a lot, right? Definitely, there are certain standard processes, there are certain standard methods that you have to follow. That's great that you follow, that you abide by them, but you have to think from your organization perspective as well. GRC will never talk about that, yes, this is a practice, and then blindly just implement this, right? We never talk in GRC that, yes, this is the best practice, go ahead, follow it, whether that is applicable, whether that is not applicable. No, You try to adapt the best out of that framework. You try to adapt the best out of that scoring criteria, matrix, treatment plans, assessment methods. You try to adopt the best out of that. Then try to compare it with your own organization, needs of your organization, capabilities of your organization, budget of the organization. Do the complete evaluation and then come up with your scoring, with your ratings, with your amount of resources that you would like to have for managing GRC, etc. How are you going to treat, or how are you going to mitigate the risk? How are you going to transfer the risk, right? Whether you need a cyber insurance or not, right? So all of these steps are a part of GRC, right? They are all some of the core pillars. They are all some of the core principles of GRC that one has to keep in mind. Then some of the other important information, what we can think of, or what we feel we should be having, is regulatory adherence. Right now, compliance becomes one of the most important part of GRC, because if there is no compliance, or if the compliance is not up to the mark, then it's going to be a big mess for the organization, right? Is there going to be a big mess for the organization if compliance is not followed correctly, or if compliance is not appropriate for the organization? It can be, you know, huge penalties. There can be huge penalties, there can be fines, there can be reputational impact, or organization can lose contracts. It could be a lot. Okay, so adhering to the laws, adhering to regulation, adhering to standards is one of the most important part that we would like to promote as a part of GRC, right? Then some of the internal controls, some of the external controls, right? External controls are again chosen as a part of best practice, maybe. Internal controls are something which you define very explicit for your organization, right? To mitigate the risk, to prevent the risk, right? To prevent violations, to prevent breaches, right? We do define external controls, internal controls, so that it's helpful for the organization, that by adopting all such controls, you are in a position which is helpful for the organization to prevent risk, to mitigate the risk, etc. Then again, auditing and report, right? When you conduct regular audits, you exactly know that the level of compliance is, let's say, 90% or 95%, because when auditors come into picture, they are going to ask for evidences, they are going to ask for documentation. So if, as an organization, you are able to present the right set of organization, you are able to present the right set of information, right? Then definitely it is really helpful to the organization. Okay, it's really helpful for the organization to have a better compliance, right? So reporting the audits, right? Generating audit reports, understanding non-conformities identified by the audit team, improvising and working on that is an important part as well. All right. And then followed by training and awareness, right? Now, training and awareness is equivalently important for the organization. As I said, in the era where technological shift, functional shifts, right, processes shift are very, very important, right? In such cases, being trained on latest technologies, tools, processes, right, regulation will definitely help you to have better understanding of GRC processes, better understanding of GRC, different frameworks of GRC, and that is really important for the organization, because you as employees are upskilling yourself, as well as you are contributing, towards the organizational improvement and efficiency as well. Okay, so training and awareness again becomes one of the most important part for GRC. All right. Now, let's have a look at some of the core use cases that we foresee in GRC. So, some of the very widely used use cases of GRC are issue management, policy management, control assurance, risk management, compliance management, and business continuity management. And these are some of the core use cases we will see being widely used wherever GRC is being implemented or GRC is being used, right? So issue management, as we all know, that whenever we see some kind of bug, some kind of gap, some kind of deficiency, right, we tend to create an issue, right? And then we work on that issue for its resolution. We ensure that this issue cannot be like a big risk to the organization if identified. So we try to remediate that issue, and if we foresee that, yes, this issue cannot be remediated, we create exception requests, right? So in our course as well, this is exactly what we are going to talk about. That we are going to talk about the core stakeholders involved in issue, why issues are important, why do we need to create issues, then what are some of the types of issues that organizations usually create, what are remediation plans, which different types of remediation plans are available, right? What are exception requests? Why do we need exception requests? If we accept a issue, right, and pertaining risks to it, then who is a responsible person to bear all of these? What is the entire life cycle of each of the applications and use cases? That is something we're going to talk about in pretty much detail and depth. Similarly, policy management, one of the cores of governance. Um, what exactly is a policy, how policies are created, why policy is important, why do we need policies, some of the core stakeholders involved in a policy, some of the best practice example how policy can be created with their scope, with the exceptions involved in the policy, with stakeholders involved in the policy, with the statement, right? So we would be also talking about policies over there, and the entire life cycle, right? Entire life cycle of policy, right from creation of policy till its review, till its approval, right? We will be talking about all of that in pretty much details as well. We will try to see how policies are created. Then comes the control assurance part, right? Now, control assurance is again one of the most important part in GRC. That what are controls? Why do we need controls? What benefits control can bring in? What controls is capable to do within an organization, who designs the control, how are controls designed, what are master controls, how do we imply controls on an asset or on a risk or so, right? How do we test controls? What is control testing? What is design test results, right? We talk about all such core concepts from an industry perspective, that within an industry, how the entire control module or control assurance module is utilized, right? What is the process or what is the life cycle that an organization would follow for control assurance? Likewise, followed by risk management, we tend to see the entire processes of risk, right from its identification to its analysis, evaluation, its determination, its treatment, right? We tend to see all such details in the risk management part. We try to see what is the difference between an enterprise risk or an operational risk or an IT risk, right? How do we define the core CIA ratings, right? Based on the CIA ratings, how do we do the assessment of the risk, right? What is the responsibility of a risk owner? How risk rating is defined? What is impact? What is residual score? What is inherited score, right? And again, keeping in mind how within an industry different parameters of such terminologies come into picture, we briefly talk about. Then comes compliance management. Definitely, as we have seen before as well, that how important compliance is for the organization. Right? We try to take up some real case scenarios. That let's say you're starting your organization from basic GRC. Then what are some of the core steps that you have to take into consideration when you want to be compliant with process frameworks, regulations, etc.? So, how do we design that step by step approach for being compliant with processes, with frameworks, etc.? What are some of the things that you have to keep in mind which are some of the core existing frameworks like ISO 27001 or GDPR, some of the very widely used frameworks, right? Now, how do you ensure that you are abiding by all the articles, all the closures, all the checklist of these frameworks, and you are making your organization compliant with, such frameworks or so, right? So we briefly talk about the entire step by step process over there. And then there is a business continuity aspect as well. So what is business continuity? What are disaster recovery plans? What is crisis management? What is business impact analysis? Why is it important? Why do we need it? Right? We'll do like an overview of BCMS as well, because BCMS as well is an important part of GRC, where you think of some extraordinary events like disasters, like crisis, which we don't anticipate that to happen in our day-to-day operations. But with disaster recovery, your operations can get impacted, your business can get impacted. You will be in a position that if you do not have a proper business continuity plan, you may fail to deliver the outputs to the client. You may fail to manage your risk for the organization, right? You have no idea what exactly will go ahead in case of crisis which happens, right? You have no idea, right? So all the core concepts of business continuity as well, we look forward to talk and discuss as well. All right. So with this, I would like to thank everyone for joining, right? And then, if you are looking for to enroll in our GRC functional course, which is going to be more hands-on, you can reach out to the given mail address as well as to the provided mobile number on the screen, as well as for getting more information about the course. You can use the scanner or write an email to sales@protect.io, right? And they will be able to help you with the necessary details needed. Now, some of the career opportunities. Now, definitely, if you look at the market and the industry these days, we know how important compliance, risk management has become with definitely new technological changes, new technological shifts coming into picture. So there are ample of opportunities available as GRC analysts, as risk officers, as technical GRC consultants, as ISMS auditors. There are ample of roles available in the market where you will see a huge demand of GRC consultants, right? So it's a very good industry to be in these days, specifically when cybersecurity is a very booming area. The risks are increasing every single day. So definitely the organization are looking for skilled consultants with right knowledge and skill set who can help them with better practices, with more maturity, right? So you will see ample of opportunities around GRC with specific skill set, right? So it's a very nice domain to be in, and it's a domain where even if you don't have a prior experience or you're looking to transition your career from any other industry, right? You have room, you have opportunities, right? All you have to be is focused, just work on the particular skill set that you are expecting, and then market is wide open to give you opportunities. So with this, I would conclude the session for today, and I'll hand it over to Ghazal for any Q&A or any other queries if anyone has.
Hi, Vivek. Thank you so much for the wonderful explanations and the wonderful session. Yes, we have a lot of questions. So, would you like me to read those out to you, or can I remove the screen so that you can see the questions on your screen?
I think if you remove the screen, that would be
Right,
helpful.
right. Sure. All right. So, the first question we had was by Vinesh, and he wanted to ask you the difference between transparency and visibility.
Yeah. See, transparency and visibility, they have a very minor difference if you look at. Transparency is being, let's say, I have been assigned a particular duty, right? So my roles and responsibilities are very evident and are openly available that as a risk analyst or as a risk manager, XYZ are the duties and XYZ are my roles that I have to follow, right? That exactly is conveyed to other stakeholders as well, right? Not only to me, but to other stakeholders who have a relation with risk manager or other stakeholders working in the organization, right? They would have an idea on this. And likewise, all other stakeholders who work in the organization also have an understanding about each other's roles, responsibility. So that way you can consider that it's very transparent, right? People know each other's duty and responsibility. And that same thing, if you make it visible, right, you make it visible through a document, you make it visible through, like some kind of policy, or you make it visible through any kind of graphical representation or a document or so, that would be, making the roles and responsibilities visible to everyone, or specifically to department, right? You can even consider that. So that is the primary difference between transparency and visibility. I hope this answers your question.
Right. By the time Vinesh is typing out his response, let's take another question by Mayank Singh.
Hmm. Sure. Okay. Cross-functional collaboration. Example of each type of risk which GRC addresses. Please tell with examples. Let's see. There would be multiple. I won't be able to give you with each type of risk, because types of risk are, as many as you want, right? But we'll pick one and I'll explain you this in little detail, right? So let me give you an example that you are working as an IT consultant who is supposed to handle an IT system or an OT system in the organization, right? Now, in order to maintain and operate that IT or OT system, you would have to collaborate with the users, like the real-time users who will be using that system. You are working as an administrator, right? So you are the technical guy, right? As a technical guy, your roles and responsibilities are clearly defined, that system maintenance, system bug fixes, system improvements, system enhancements, that is your roles and responsibilities. But how will you enhance the system? How will you modify or improvise the system? The input has to come from the users who are using it, right? What exactly they would like to see in the system? Would they like to see diagrams? Would they like to see, statistical reports? Would they like to see just normal data? Would they like to have like proper or a bunch of reports? So you are basically collaborating with the stakeholders, right? Who may be coming from different areas. So that is an example of cross functional collaboration, right? That you are coordinating with different teams, you are coordinating with different stakeholders, and then together, or simultaneously, you are trying to achieve a need of the organization, right? You guys are working in collaboration so that the GRC needs of the organization are achieved, right? Every stakeholder will have a different responsibility here, but you are coming together, you are collaborating together and working towards achieving goals for the organization. This, I can say, is one of the cross functional collaboration example we can think of, right? And then you can just think of technological risks here, you can think of process risks here, right? So out of the explanation what I provided you from a system perspective, from a process perspective, right, try to identify those risks, right? Once you identify those risks, try to think of its mitigation, try to think of the stakeholders you would need to involve in mitigating that risk, right? That will give you an idea of how cross functional collaboration is important and how it works.
Right. Great. Great. So we have more questions. Should I go on?
Yeah, yeah, please.
All right. So this question is by Jay Prakash.
Okay, I'm into risk management domain. It comes under risk review. With this course, help me for senior roles in future, and what else can be seen as a potential course for career development? Well, Jay, in this course, we are focusing on not only risk management, but we are focusing on holistic GRC. That within an organization, how would GRC work? that is our primary focus with this course. And we take up real time examples, we take up real time use cases that within an organization, how the use cases are working in real time basis, right? Which stakeholders are involved with different processes, what roles and responsibilities they have to. We take up all those real time scenarios and we'll talk about. So definitely this course will boost your GRC knowledge, will boost your GRC skill set, right? So from a career development perspective, this will be really helpful because as a risk analyst, you have to be very much familiar with compliance, controls, policies, issues, right? They're all part of, or definitely they are not the core thing as a risk analyst, but yes, you day in day out work with all the stakeholders from different departments. So once you understand their roles, once you understand their responsibilities as well, right, and then you try to relate with your work, you will be better able to understand and make your knowledge about GRC more and more mature, right? So this will definitely help you for further or future GRC roles that you may look forth in the future, right? Maybe as a compliance officer or as a GRC manager, right, who has a sound understanding about the GRC processes, about the GRC frameworks, right? So this will be helpful with that regards, Jay.
Great, great. We have more questions. So Puneet Gupta has asked the next one. He's asking, which certifications would you recommend? Would it be like OCEG or CGRC?
Uh, well, see, certifications again, it's a validation. Okay, it's a validation of your knowledge. So certification does matter, but at the end, knowledge is more important than certification, in my opinion. Okay, and then it could be, there could be difference of opinion with that regards. But if you are looking for like a proper certification into a GRC, then CGRC is a good certification to go for. But not only certification, focus on the knowledge as well. The more practical knowledge you have, right, the better your chances for doing like a career transition or a job switch or moving up the ladder will be helpful. Certification definitely helps you as a tag, but knowledge is more important in my opinion. But if you were to choose between the two, go for CGRC.
Right. I hope that answered Puneet's question. If there are any more questions, please do leave them in the comment section. We're in the Q&A segment of the live session, so please do feel free. Vivek, would you say this course is tuned to any certification or examination, or doing the course would help out with any such certifications?
It will definitely help if you are looking for any C certifications, right? The content and the topics that we are covering up on controls, on risk, on policies, issues, right? That definitely helps you for CISA, C risk, right? But definitely, I'm not saying that by doing this course you can definitely sit for the CISA certification or C risk certification directly. But yes, a couple of core concepts on risk, controls, compliances, which is helpful for all such certifications, are covered up here. Even CGRC concepts are covered up here, specifically on the control side.
Right, right. So this could be
Our
like a more of a
focus
hands-on.
Yeah, our focus is not on certification driven stuff or not on certifications. Our focus is more on practical approach that in an organization, let's say you have the skill set, you have the certification, but you go to an organization, and if I give you an activity that you have to work as a GRC consultant and implement GRC for the whole organization, coordinate with different stakeholders, coordinate with whosoever you want in the organization, get my GRC implemented. How will you practically do that in the organization is our primary focus on, right? So the use cases, the examples, even that we are taking up for this course is more hands-on and practical. So this is the agenda and focus of our course.
Right, right. Got it. So Puneet has another question for you.
Sure.
Which GRC
Puneet,
tools would you?
GRC tools, um, GRC tools, we will not be using dedicated GRC tools for the course because tool segment would completely be a separate learning, right? There are a couple of tools available in the market if you want to get hands-on experience on the tools as well. In this course, we would be focusing on the functional side of GRC, but in the end, we will be reviewing RSA Archer, right? We would be reviewing RSA Archer as a tool to see how all of these use cases are used, right, within the tool. So we'll just look or have an overview on this, but we are not learning the tools here.
Great, great. So, are there any more questions, guys? You can still put them in the comment section. We'll wait for another 10-15 seconds in case there is a lag. So, I think, Vivek, this is a good time to wrap up since we don't have any more questions.
All right.
So thanks so much, Vivek, for joining us and answering all the questions and giving us such an insightful session once again. So thank you so much for taking out the time out of your busy day, and thanks everybody for joining us. And do feel free to reach out to Protect Academy. I will leave the number in the comment section so that you can just give us a call and get started with Vivek on his training, which is going to be awesome. We got a really, really good feedback for the previous batch. So let's keep this ball rolling and keep continuing to skill up. So do feel free to reach out, and we'll see you in the next session. Thanks so much,
Thank
Vivek.
you, everybody, for joining. Thank you, Ghazal. Thank you so much.
All right, have a great one, everyone. Bye.
Bye bye.